There was a time when every American kitchen had a red-spined cookbook sitting proudly on the counter, Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook. It was not just a collection of recipes. It was a guide to living, a symbol of comfort, and a trusted voice that carried families through decades of change. From Sunday suppers to holiday feasts, Betty Crocker recipes shaped how America cooked, celebrated, and shared love through food. But as the decades passed, some of those beloved dishes quietly disappeared. They slipped through the pages of time, forgotten in favor of modern shortcuts and trends. Yet each of these recipes tells a story of post-war optimism, suburban kitchens, and mothers who measured more than ingredients, they measured memories. Today, we are opening that cookbook once again to rediscover the flavors that defined mid-century America. From savory supper rings to delightfully sweet salads, these forgotten Betty Crocker creations remind us why food was once about more than taste, it was about togetherness. So sit back, and let us journey through 10 timeless dishes that deserve a second chance at your table. This is America's Lost Recipes. Tuna noodle ring. In the 1950s, dinner tables were often dressed with a sense of pride, and creativity was the secret ingredient. The tuna noodle ring was one of those show-stopping Betty Crocker dishes that perfectly captured the spirit of the post-war American kitchen, resourceful, elegant, and family-centered. Imagine a golden ring of noodles baked to perfection, its center filled with a creamy tuna mixture, peas, and just a touch of pimento for color. It was not just dinner, it was a centerpiece. Housewives in their floral aprons would present it proudly, a meal that felt both modern and comforting. The genius of this dish lay in its thriftiness. During an era when canned tuna was affordable and easy to store, the tuna noodle ring offered a way to stretch a few simple ingredients into something that looked grand. It was the kind of recipe that made a family feel rich, even when the pantry said otherwise. Betty Crocker promoted it as a smart hostess recipe, a dish that could impress guests without breaking the budget. It symbolized the optimism of a new America, where convenience met creativity in the kitchen. Today, it may sound quaint, but the tuna noodle ring remains a forgotten gem of mid-century ingenuity, a reminder of when dinner was served with pride, imagination, and love. Watergate salad. Few dishes capture the playful charm of the 1970s quite like Watergate salad. Despite its mysterious name, this pastel green dessert was never about politics. It was about joy, the kind of joy found in potlucks, church picnics, and family reunions, where laughter echoed louder than any recipe could promise. The story begins in 1975 when pistachio pudding mix first appeared on grocery shelves. Betty Crocker and home cooks nationwide quickly saw its potential. Combining instant pudding with whipped topping, crushed pineapple, miniature marshmallows, and chopped pecans, they created a sweet, fluffy salad that blurred the line between dessert and side dish. Its mint-green hue made it a visual standout on every buffet table, light-hearted, whimsical, and unmistakably retro. Some families added their own touches, a splash of coconut, extra nuts for crunch, or maraschino cherries to brighten the top. It was a dish meant to be shared, one that encouraged conversation and smiles. Children delighted in its candlelight colors, and adults appreciated the simplicity and elegance of a dessert that required little time but felt special. The name Watergate salad remains a curiosity. Some believe it referenced the political scandal that captured the nation's attention at the time. Others think it borrowed the title from a contemporary cake recipe. Regardless, the name did not matter to those who served it. The salad became a symbol of the era's optimism, a comfort food that fit perfectly into the suburban kitchens of mid-1970s America. Today, Watergate salad is more than a recipe. It is a time capsule of a decade defined by color, creativity, and community. Each bite is a reminder of when desserts were playful, kitchens were social spaces, and every family gathering held a hint of magic. Cheeseburger pie. In the 1960s and 1970s, American kitchens embraced innovation, turning simple ingredients into comforting, eye-catching meals. One such creation was the cheeseburger pie, a casserole that combined the familiar flavors of a hamburger with the warmth and convenience of a baked dish. It was a recipe that brought families together, transforming dinner into both nourishment and celebration. The foundation of the pie was straightforward, seasoned ground beef layered with a fluffy cheese filling, all encased in a tender pastry or biscuit crust. Some households added a touch of onion or green pepper for texture and flavor. Others included a thin layer of ketchup or mustard beneath the cheese for a subtle tang that complemented the richness of the filling. The dish was practical, stretching inexpensive ingredients into a meal large enough for a family, yet indulgent enough to feel like a special treat. Betty Crocker featured cheeseburger pie in her mid-century cookbooks as the answer to a common challenge, feeding a family quickly without sacrificing taste or presentation. Housewives appreciated the combination of accessibility and elegance. When placed on the dinner table, the golden crust promised satisfaction even before the first bite, and the melted cheese concealed a hearty, seasoned filling that appealed to children and adults alike. Beyond practicality, cheeseburger pie carried cultural significance. It reflected a moment in American history when convenience foods, home cooking, and family dining merged seamlessly. Families gathered around it on Friday nights or Sunday evenings, sharing stories and laughter as the aroma filled the home. Though modern tastes have shifted toward gourmet burgers or frozen conveniences, cheeseburger pie remains a testament to mid-century ingenuity, a recipe designed to please, to feed, and to bring warmth to the table. Its flavors are a nostalgic echo of simpler times when every bite told a story of hope. Creamed chicken over biscuits. In the mid-20th century, American kitchens favored meals that were both hearty and comforting. Creamed chicken over biscuits was one such classic, offering warmth, simplicity, and the satisfaction of a home-cooked dinner that could feed an entire family. It was a dish that balanced convenience with elegance, perfect for busy evenings or Sunday gatherings. The recipe began with tender, cooked chicken shredded into bite-sized pieces. A creamy sauce, made from butter, flour, milk, and a hint of seasoning, enveloped the meat in a velvety embrace. Some cooks added finely chopped celery or onion, enhancing texture and depth. The sauce was poured over freshly baked biscuits, soft and golden, creating a layered meal that combined crispness, fluffiness, and richness in every bite. Betty Crocker promoted this dish as a practical solution for home cooks who wanted a comforting, satisfying dinner without long preparation times. Its appeal lay not only in taste but also in presentation. A plate of creamed chicken over biscuits looked generous and inviting, signaling care and hospitality to anyone who sat down to the table. Beyond its culinary attributes, creamed chicken over biscuits captured the spirit of an era. In post-war America, families often gathered around the kitchen table, sharing stories of the day while enjoying meals that were affordable and nourishing. This dish exemplified the ingenuity of home cooks who transformed simple pantry staples into meals that felt special. Today, creamed chicken over biscuits is a reminder of a time when cooking was about love, comfort, and community. Each creamy spoonful evokes the aroma of a bustling mid-century kitchen and the quiet satisfaction of a family coming together to enjoy food made with care. It is a recipe that deserves to be remembered and recreated, bringing the warmth of the past to modern tables. Jelled cranberry noodles. In the 1950s and 1960s, American home cooks loved to experiment with gelatin, creating dishes that were both playful and elegant. One of the most curious and memorable creations of this era was Jelled cranberry noodles. This dish combined the tart brightness of cranberries with the soft, comforting texture of cooked noodles, all suspended in a delicate gelatin that made the plate shimmer like a jewel. The recipe began by boiling egg noodles until tender and then chilling them slightly. Cranberries, often cooked into a sweetened sauce or sauce and jelly combination, were mixed with sugar and a touch of lemon for balance. The noodles were layered with this cranberry mixture, and then a clear gelatin, sometimes flavored with orange or pineapple, was poured over the top. The dish was left to set in a ring mold or casserole, creating a visually striking centerpiece for holiday dinners or special occasions. Betty Crocker presented Jelled cranberry noodles as a sophisticated yet practical dish, demonstrating the versatility of gelatin in mid-century cooking. It showcased ingenuity, combining pantry staples and seasonal fruit in a way that delighted both the eyes and the palate. The slightly tart cranberry flavor contrasted beautifully with the mild noodles, while the shimmering gelatin reflected light and added a sense of celebration to any table. Beyond its taste, the dish embodied the optimism of post-war America. Families were eager to try new recipes, experiment with textures, and create memorable meals that blended practicality with artistry. Jelled cranberry noodles became a conversation starter, a dish that inspired curiosity and admiration from guests. Today, it is a rare glimpse into mid-century creativity in the kitchen, a reminder of how resourcefulness, flavor, and presentation combined to produce dishes that were as much about beauty and experience as they were about nourishment. Swedish meatball loaf. In the 1960s, American home cooks were captivated by the idea of turning classic European dishes into practical, family-friendly meals. One of the most inventive creations of this era was the Swedish meatball loaf, a dish that combined the comforting flavors of traditional meatballs with the convenience of a baked loaf. It became a favorite in kitchens across the country, offering both familiarity and a touch of elegance. The recipe began with ground beef, sometimes mixed with pork, blended with breadcrumbs, egg, onion, and a hint of seasoning. This mixture was shaped into a loaf rather than individual meatballs, allowing it to bake evenly and serve a family with minimal effort. Once cooked, the loaf was smothered in a creamy, lightly seasoned sauce reminiscent of classic Swedish gravy. Some cooks added a sprinkle of nutmeg or a dash of allspice to enhance the warmth of the dish, while others layered cooked meatballs within the loaf for texture and visual appeal. Betty Crocker promoted this dish as an ideal solution for home cooks seeking efficiency without sacrificing flavor. It represented a bridge between convenience and tradition, showing how beloved recipes could be adapted to modern kitchen life. The Swedish meatball loaf was often served with mashed potatoes or buttered noodles, completing a comforting meal that families could enjoy together. Beyond taste, the dish symbolized a period in American history when households were exploring international flavors while maintaining the practical sensibilities of mid-century cooking. It was a dish that encouraged experimentation, conversation, and pride in the home-cooked meal. Today, the Swedish meatball loaf stands as a testament to culinary creativity and adaptability. It is a reminder of a time when home cooking was inventive, flavorful, and deeply connected to the rhythms of family life. Old-fashioned banana pudding. In mid-20th century America, few desserts captured comfort and familiarity like old-fashioned banana pudding. It was more than a sweet treat, it was a ritual, a symbol of family gatherings, Sunday dinners, and homemade love passed from one generation to the next. Betty Crocker included it in her cookbooks as a timeless classic, offering home cooks a recipe that was simple, satisfying, and visually inviting. The preparation began with layers of fresh, ripe bananas, sliced evenly to ensure every bite was sweet and soft. Vanilla wafers were carefully arranged between the banana slices, absorbing moisture from the creamy custard and creating a delicate, sponge-like texture. The custard itself, made from milk, sugar, eggs, and vanilla, was thick, smooth, and rich, enveloping the layers in a comforting embrace. Some families added a final topping of meringue, lightly browned to add sweetness and a slight crunch, while others preferred whipped cream for a lighter finish. Banana pudding was accessible and practical, utilizing ingredients that were affordable and easy to keep on hand. Yet it felt indulgent and special, a dessert worthy of celebration. Children delighted in spooning the soft layers onto their plates, while adults appreciated the nostalgic aroma and the connection to simpler times. Beyond its flavor, the dessert reflected an era when home cooking was a shared experience. Families would gather in the kitchen, tasting, stirring, and preparing a dish that brought warmth and familiarity to the table. Each layer was not just food, it was a memory, a comfort, and a story. Today, old-fashioned banana pudding remains a symbol of mid-century American kitchens. It is a reminder of when desserts were made with patience, care, and the simple joy of bringing loved ones together. Cherry cheese dessert. In the 1960s and 1970s, American kitchens were full of inventive desserts that combined sweet flavors with creamy textures. Cherry cheese dessert was one such creation, blending the tartness of cherries with the richness of cream cheese in a layered, chilled dish that became a favorite at family gatherings, potlucks, and holiday celebrations. The base of the dessert often began with crushed graham crackers or a simple pastry crust, pressed into a pan to provide a firm foundation. A creamy filling of softened cream cheese, sugar, and sometimes whipped topping was spread over the crust, creating a smooth and indulgent layer. The finishing touch was a topping of sweetened cherries, either from a jar or freshly prepared, their vibrant red hue providing a striking contrast against the pale cream beneath. Some variations included gelatin to set the layers, giving the dessert a slightly firm, elegant texture that could be sliced and served neatly. Betty Crocker included cherry cheese dessert in her cookbooks as a practical yet visually appealing treat. It showcased the era's fascination with layered desserts, where contrasting flavors and textures could transform simple ingredients into something festive. Families appreciated it for its balance of sweetness and tartness, its ease of preparation, and its ability to serve a crowd without requiring extensive time in the kitchen. Beyond its flavor, the dessert represented the social and domestic culture of the time. It was a dish that brought people together, inspiring conversation and admiration. Children were drawn to its bright color, while adults admired its elegance and versatility. Today, cherry cheese dessert is a reminder of mid-century culinary creativity. It captures a period when desserts were as much about presentation and delight as they were about taste, preserving a legacy of warmth, hospitality, and simple indulgence that remains timeless. Hot milk cake with fudge icing. In mid-20th century America, home bakers sought desserts that were simple to prepare yet elegant enough to serve at family gatherings. Hot milk cake with fudge icing became a beloved classic, celebrated for its tender texture, subtle sweetness, and the indulgent contrast of rich chocolate frosting. It was a cake that exemplified the ingenuity and warmth of mid-century kitchens. The cake itself began with a straightforward batter of flour, sugar, eggs, and butter, enriched by hot milk, which created a light, delicate crumb. This technique ensured the cake remained moist and tender, yet sturdy enough to support a generous layer of fudge icing. The icing, made from butter, sugar, cocoa, and a touch of milk, was poured warm over the cake, setting into a glossy, slightly firm coating that added both flavor and visual appeal. Some families added a pinch of vanilla or a sprinkle of chopped nuts, creating a personalized touch that reflected the care of the home cook. Betty Crocker featured hot milk cake with fudge icing as a practical dessert that required minimal effort but produced maximum satisfaction. It was ideal for everyday family meals, holiday celebrations, or spontaneous gatherings, appealing to both children and adults. Its simplicity was deceptive. While the ingredients were basic, the result was refined, demonstrating how thoughtful technique could elevate ordinary staples into a memorable treat. Beyond its taste, the cake symbolized a period in American culinary history when desserts were about warmth, sharing, and tradition. Families would gather around the kitchen, savoring each slice while enjoying conversation and laughter. Today, hot milk cake with fudge icing remains a reminder of mid-century baking ingenuity. It is a dessert that embodies comfort, nostalgia, and the enduring joy of homemade sweets, preserving a legacy that continues to inspire home cooks. Lemon chiffon pie. In the 1930s and 1940s, American home cooks were drawn to desserts that were both light and elegant. Lemon chiffon pie emerged as a celebrated creation, combining the tart brightness of lemons with the airy texture of chiffon, resulting in a dessert that was sophisticated, refreshing, and perfect for special occasions or family dinners. The base of the pie was a crisp pastry or graham cracker crust, providing a firm yet delicate foundation for the luscious filling. The lemon chiffon layer was a masterpiece of technique, blending egg yolks, sugar, lemon juice, and zest with beaten egg whites to create a light, fluffy texture that practically melted in the mouth. The pie was often topped with a cloud of softly whipped cream, garnished with thin lemon slices or curls of zest, adding both visual appeal and a hint of extra citrus aroma. Some cooks added a touch of gelatin to help the chiffon hold its shape, while others relied solely on careful folding and baking to achieve perfection. Betty Crocker promoted lemon chiffon pie as a refined yet approachable dessert. Its preparation required attention and care, but the result rewarded the baker with a centerpiece that was as beautiful as it was flavorful. Families treasured it for its balance of tartness and sweetness, its lightness after a hearty meal, and its ability to elevate any occasion. Beyond its flavor, the dessert captured the optimism and creativity of mid-century American kitchens. It encouraged home cooks to experiment with textures, flavors, and presentation while remaining practical enough for everyday life. Today, lemon chiffon pie is a testament to the artistry of classic American baking. It evokes the elegance and charm of a time when desserts were designed to delight the eye and the palate, preserving a legacy of craftsmanship, taste, and family tradition.